The 49ers made it through week one with a win, but not without new injuries. We've got some injury updates on George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, and now QB1 Brock Purdy. Plus, we'll talk about a couple of big roster moves and, of course, crowning our week one 49K player of the week.
You're listening to the 49 Carats podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Monday, September 8th. And just when you thought we'd be feeling good on a victory Monday, we just got some news on some 49ers injuries that may change that. But you know what I am happy about? I'm happy to see my Monday co-host, Weston, back in here. So let's start with that. Weston, how you doing?
Happy Victory Monday, Steph. What victories are better to start week one than going on the road against a divisional opponent who we all hate and coming out of there with a win nonetheless, scrappy, but still a win. So I feel fantastic on this Monday, and I am excited to be here.
We're still gonna enjoy this win, no doubt about it. There's plenty to still be happy about. But Weston, let's just get straight to these updates that we just got a little bit ago here online on Twitter. So I guess we already knew about George Kittle with the hamstring injury, right? Who exited this game quite early. And he was declared out very early in this game, to which, you know, we all kind of freaked out and thought, okay, that probably means it's a pretty bad hamstring injury. And now we know that, according to Kyle Shanahan, he said he's going to be out a few weeks. Ian Rappaport said, per his sources, out 3 to 5 weeks, which I would say those two reports align based on what Kyle Shanahan said and what Ian Rappaport has to say. So 3 to 5 weeks. And also Kyle Shanahan did add George Kittle is an IR candidate. And of course, that would be IR with the designation to return. So they got some decisions to make there. I mean, it's only, you're heading into week 2. You only get so many of these injured reserve with designation to return designations for the season. I believe there's 8 total that you can use. So do you want to burn one this early in the season with George Kittle if maybe he could be back by week 3? I mean, that's the kind of the decision the 49ers are going to have to make.
Look, I know the math gymnastics that have to take place around just a certain number of allotment, but I think if it's 3 to 5 weeks, split the difference, 4 weeks, that's IR with a designated return, and that probably feels like the right move. Not the news that anybody wants to hear, but I also think just given the injury history of this team, like just this 2025 version of the San Francisco 49ers, I think you have to proceed with caution. Listen, nobody's more upset than me. I have George Kittle in multiple fantasy leagues this year, and I knew better than to do this because this happened the last time he signed a contract extension where he missed a bowl. But you'd rather it happen now, right? Like, because now it starts to feel like there's other folks that are also on IR that might need to be brought back. And if you get them all back at the same time, then this passing game looks a little bit different. Schedule is not brutal in these first couple weeks, right? Like, I think you take advantage of that. And I think you have to, with George Kittle, you have to aging, hamstring. I think you have no other choice but to proceed with caution. And I think you have to IR because you need that roster spot. You can't just let them hang because this team is severely dependent on having 3 tight ends in the lineup every single week. You're going to need the extra body. I don't really think you have a choice. If it's, I don't know if they gave it a grade, but if it's a grade 2 or above, I think you have to.
Yeah, and according to Gray, who's watching the show via Twitter, it's my fault. Somehow it's my fault. Maybe I jinxed them. You know what? I might have jinxed them because I was like, the 49ers finally heading into week 1, like they're getting healthy at the right time. I think we all kind of thought that. And of course, these first two games, I did mention this on other shows that like these first two games were going to be a test, I think, of how truly healthy can they stay, because it was going to be two games on the road and on turf, right? So you got through one of them, and you've got three injuries that, three injuries, you would think to yourself, that's not too bad. But when you think of the players who are injured, it's like, oh God, what do we do? Juwan Jennings now with a shoulder injury. Of course, he exited sort of late in the third quarter, I want to say, and his MRI came out clean, which is good news. More tests needed for Juwan Jennings to understand just what's going on there and the severity of that one. The big one, and Gray did clarify. Actually, not my fault. It's Weston's fault. Actually.
Yeah. Steph, I was going to chime in and be like, first of all, we've been doing this together for how long now? 3 years? This is our third year. Nothing's your fault. I'm the problem child. You know this. And Gray, you're right. I know.
I like
better.
Gray all of a sudden.
Yeah, Gray, I know better. I know not to draft 49ers, but I'm an analytical mind. And he was just sitting there, and I was going to have 22 picks to my next pick. And it kind of worked out that way. But Gray, you're right. My bad. I'll apologize to the 49ers fans. Steph, you just keep doing your thing.
You might have been listening to me a little too much, Weston, because I was singing George Kittle's praises. I was like, this is going to be a huge year for Kittle, because everything was pointing that way as far as, the opportunities that he was going to be having with the wide receiver situation being what it was. But of course, the caveat to that, as always, as with any player, fantasy and real life alike, is that, health. They need to have, if healthy, yes, they need to have health. So speaking of, let's get to this Brock Purdy injury, because this is the one that we found out about today when Kyle Shanahan spoke with the media. Feels notable. Left shoulder and toe injury. Kyle Shanahan did say that the toe injury is the worst of the two. All right, so his week 2 status seems to be a little uncertain. And Kyle pretty much said, like, it really depends how he feels throughout this week. And so that opens things up, right? It's Monday. I'm sure the 49ers are going to milk this. Whether or not Purdy feels better at some point in the week, the 49ers, no doubt, are going to take this down to the wire, gamemanship and all of that. They're going to have Saints preparing for the possibility of Mac Jones potentially starting this game. If I had to guess right now, and this is just my intuition and what I think of the 49ers and how they treat injuries, I guess. I think Brock Purdy plays this, because you know what, Weston, this kind of reminds me of that one game against the Seahawks, no less, when they had to play on Thursday. In this case, they're playing Sunday against the Saints. But that game, he was dealing with a rib injury.
Yeah.
That's one of those injuries where, man, that is really tough to play through if you're a quarterback. And again, the 49ers took it down to the wire. I think, in that case, probably was serious enough for it to go down the wire. And again, you're talking about a Thursday night game, but yeah, I think they're just going to milk this a little bit. I feel like they did somewhat similar with Christian McCaffrey, missing practices late last week as well, So I think Brock Purdy would play, if I'm guessing. That is not fantasy football advice. That is just my 2 cents, which mean close to nothing, but...
But I don't disagree with you. Look, I think what gives me cause for concern is just the toe, right? That's tough, right? Especially, maybe that makes sense. That's maybe why we saw a couple throws that he made. He was on his heels, right? Or kind of leaving the ground a little bit. Maybe he just couldn't really grip on that artificial surface with whether it was stepped on, jammed, turf toe, whatever it was that was done. I'll say that I think he plays. He's a tough kid. We already know that, with a chip on his shoulder, even though he just got paid, he's a gamer. He's going to want to play. But I think this opens up 2 things. One, a lot of reps this week for Mac Jones. You're not going to see Brock in practice, I would imagine, right? No contact jersey, walking through drills, like, we'll be fine. A lot of reps for Mac Jones. That's good. We actually all believe in our backup quarterback, or that he can do the Kyle Shanahan things well. So that's a good. And if he's going to miss a game, Steph, this is the one on the schedule to miss, right? Like the New Orleans Saints. This is the National Football League, any given Sunday, all of that. But the Saints are figuring their things out as well, especially with Spencer Rattler at quarterback. So I feel like if you are on the fence, Kyle, you can err with caution this week. You know what I mean? But other than that, it's going to say, hey, guy, we just paid you $255 million. You're going to have to go ahead and suck that up for us and figure it out. You know, we'll wrap up your pinky toe or whatever toe it is, and let's keep this thing moving. But I agree with you. I think he plays. I don't want to say this is gamesmanship. I think this is just recognizing, hey, QB1 walked out a little bit nicked up. Here's what happened. This is why you will not see him taking reps with the ones all week, and you're going to see Mac Jones. I mean, I think that's the simple math of it.
Well, look at Mac Jones. I mean, he came dressed to the nines, looking like Joker out there.
Your tweet did have me dying.
If this is what Mac Jones is going to be wearing as a backup, you know, who's to say what
I can't. He's going to be Cam Newton-esque if he's QB1 on Sunday, coming in all dazzled and top hats and everything else.
At least we'd have something to look forward to if Mac Jones is the quarterback. Okay, so on the Saints side, and I thank you, 49ers Throwback, for commenting this because I hadn't seen this yet. Apparently, for the Saints, their best safety, Julian Blackmon, suffered a significant injury against the Cardinals in Week 1, expected to miss some time. So that's notable. That's notable as well. So both teams banged up after Week 1. And, of course, for the 49ers, we will wait and see. George Kittle, like we said, going to be out a few weeks. That's a big blow. And Juwan Jennings is TBD on that. But I guess that kind of brings us to the next story here, which is that the 49ers brought back a familiar face after waiting, you know, about a week to make this happen after he came through for a tryout last week. Kendrick Bourne signing with the 49ers on a one-year deal worth up to $5 million. And that feels like a pretty decent, you know, deal to bring someone in while this wide receiver group is hurting. You know, again, Juwan Jennings status TBD. You already know George Kittle's going to miss some time, so they need bodies. And this is a body in Kendrick Bourne who is familiar with the 49ers offense at the very least. So it wouldn't take him too much time to reacclimate, you know, to this offense.
Look, necessary, but I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather not be in the position to have to bring in KB. You know me, I am not big on retreads in any capacity. KB's a lot of fun. He's going to bring a lot of spunk, a lot of energy. I'm sure he's excited to come back to the Bay, see some of his boys. He's been in this regime before. There's 100 reasons why it makes sense. But let's be very clear. Like, Kendrick Bourne has not been here for years, which means he is not that young kid that he was when he was once upon a time here. I do not consider him to be a threat, but I do consider him to be dependable.
A threat to who?
I know that's what I'm saying. I don't consider him to be a threat to anybody. To anybody on this roster, to the opposing defense. Fair. I just think he's reliable, and they probably structure the contract with, like, look, you're going to get a lot of PT so long as these injuries continue, and you can go earn your money incentive-wise if you perform, right? Like, that's probably what it looks like in layman's terms, the contract. But the reality is like, outside of just reuniting with a guy that we all once upon a time loved because he was just like that energy spark for this team, I don't know what it does other than it being an able body who can line up at the position when they are short able bodies who can line up at the position right now.
I'll take an able body. I'll take any wide receiver who can breathe on this roster. And if that's the case, if that's the bar for 49ers receivers, you could do a hell of a lot worse than Kendrick Bourne, I think. So I'm glad that this was the move that they made, and it was pretty quick. So yeah, I'm fine with it. It's not a needle mover, but it is something that they needed.
Yeah. Again, necessary, but does it do anything for us? I don't know. We'll find. Time will tell. We'll find out. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't super productive in New England either. You know, so We'll see. Like, as long as he doesn't pull the Amari Cooper act here, then it's okay, right? Like going back to the team, retiring 2 days before the season starts. Yeah, like
no retiring. All right, let's get to the next piece of news here, and this one I think is a little more happy, at least for me. Like, I'm pleased with this move, Weston, and maybe not every 49er fan in the world would agree, because it does have to do with, I would say, a polarizing player. For some reason, the 49ers right tackle is always a polarizing topic, but Colton McKivitz locked up to a 3-year extension up to $45 million, including $27 million guaranteed. And Weston, I talked about Colton McKivitz just last week on another show that I did with Wayne, because there were some comments of the 49ers. I think it was Kyle Shanahan, saying they'd like to have him back. They'd like to keep him around. And then Colton McKivitz kind of getting asked about it in the locker room and leaving things kind of open-ended. It almost sounded like he'd be down to hit free agency, right? And you know what happens when offensive linemen who have any starting experience hit free agency, they get a bag. And I don't want anyone to argue with me on this, because it is true. It does not matter how good of a starting offensive lineman you are. You can be cheeks. And if you hit the open market, you will get a bag, because the league is so low on offensive linemen with starting experience. They'll throw a bag at them. So Cole McKivitz, I think, was on his way to doing that if he played out the season and went for that. Smart for the 49ers to lock this up when they did.
This is a low key, not even low key. This is a big move for this team, right? Like, we've all talked about addressing the offensive line. We'll all agree they haven't done that in terms of a youth movement. But you're right. Like, I don't even know why I'm drawing a blank on our swing tackle that just got paid $15 million a year to go to the Kansas City Chiefs and wasn't even starting week 1, right? That's what backup offensive linemen of any value at the tackle position, Jalen Moore, there we go, thank you, are getting paid to play this game. And like, I think 49ers fans feel the same way about McKivitz as they did about Mike McGlinchey, right? It's like, you love them, you hate them, you're somewhere in between. It changes with the week, etc. And I think we would all love to have retained McGlinchey, but the truth is, like, that guy went and got himself paid in the offseason, being a run-of-the-mill right tackle in the National Football League, right? Like, I think Colton McKivitz was looking at 20+ a year easily in the open market, and the 49ers wouldn't have done that. So you got a guy. I think one of the most important things a team can do for their players is continuity along the offensive line. Got it. Phase 1, step 1, check. And that's retaining Colton McKivitz. And then you don't have to go overpay for your own guy in the offseason. Still young. Nobody wants to hear this, but this is really cheap for starting offensive linemen in the National Football League. And guess what? 2 years from now, when he's still on the roster, if he's still playing and still starting, it's going to look like a freaking steal compared to what interior linemen are going to get paid. Forget if you play a bookend, right? Like if you're a left or a right tackle. Love the move. I know we don't all love the player, and I'm not saying that Colton McKivitz is the best. This is good business by the San Francisco 49ers. That is the end of the story, and I agree with you, Steph. Nobody should argue this. If you are arguing this, you are not paying attention. You are under the delusion of that you should have an A player at every single position, and that just doesn't happen in the National Football League, right? Like, teams are filled with A players, B players, C players, God forbid, some D players. I'd put Colton McKivitz in the middle of the pack, and you got him below league value. This is super prudent, really good business by a team that has publicly struggled at times to be involved in good business negotiations. They did well, and they got it done now. I love this move.
Yeah, anytime the 49ers do an extension early in the season, it's a player that they think is going to have a good enough season that will either price them out at the end of it, or it's just a player that has probably made up their minds, that they're going to leave. This is a great question from Benali. Like, why did McKivitz do this? His backup got more money. Why would his agent allow this? I mean, I got to imagine like Colton McKivitz probably wanted to stay in San Francisco for whatever reason, I'm sure he knows he can get more money on the open market, but there's also that risk factor involved in all of this too. Juwan Jennings, for example, bet on himself for 2025, took a potential for $3 million more this year to bet on himself, turned down the long-term deal. He's hurt. After week one, we don't know how long he's going to be out, but, it just goes to show the risk that these players take when they do decide to, bet on themselves. So maybe Colton didn't want to do that. I don't know.
I think this is a clear-cut example of like not every player in the National Football League is out there trying to get the absolute top dollar, right? There's so much more that factors into these guys. Look at Debo going to the Commanders. Yes, familiarity with some people, etc., but also closer to home. Like Colton started his life out here as a young guy, right? Like I don't know what anchors he's got. I don't know what family he's got out there and he's brought out here, but like, hey, if I can remain in this situation and keep continuity in my personal life for the next 3 years and get paid a lot of money while doing it, that makes sense. He's never been on the hot seat in San Francisco. He probably loves being with this team. I've seen the coaching staff be nothing but supportive regarding him, right? Not publicly critical. There's a lot that plays into this. And you mentioned it. The most important thing, one in the hands worth two in the bush, right? Like we could sit here and prospect on like what he would get paid in the offseason, but what if you don't make it to the offseason, right? Like that offer's here right now, and it's a pay grade, right? Like it is absolutely a pay grade for Colton McKivitz. You take it. You take those things. It's a good business decision by the San Francisco 49ers, and I think it's a good business decision for Colton McKivitz for his future in the NFL.
Absolutely. Benali, I don't like this comment as much as previous ones because it's scary to me. She says, this feels like the first tell of a Trent retirement in the coming future, though. The team that usually doesn't pay right tackles maybe doesn't want to risk having two new starting tackles at once. I definitely think that's part of it. I think it feels like a very overwhelming task to fill in one tackle position on your line. Now think of two, like, and potentially being in the same year that you would have to maybe address two tackle spots. That sounds like a nightmare. So yeah, I think that is kind of part of it. And, week one, Trent looked rusty, to put it kind of lightly. Weston, how's this for a segue into this week one game? It wasn't all roses and sunshine, but
no.
What was your assessment of Trent Williams' performance in week one? Are you nervous about him at all?
I'm not nervous about him, but I'm going to call it what it was, and I'm going to use a term that you used earlier that I love so much. It was cheeks. Like it was not good, Trent Williams, and I'm not just stopping with Trent Williams. Like our two best offensive linemen that we thought were our best offensive linemen were the two worst across that front yesterday, or at least what my eyes told me. Now I'm going to give. I know Puni got a little nicked up during the game. I think he missed 2 snaps, 1 snap, 2 snaps.
Well, Trent did too. Trent did too. I
think that was at the end of a series though, right? I think, or he might have missed one play, maybe one play, whatever it is. I'm going to give Trent the benefit of the doubt because A, he's a Hall of Famer. B, we didn't see him preseason, right? So like this is the preseason still, week one. And most coaches will actually tell you that the first 4 weeks of the season are just an extension of the preseason. So I will give him a pass because he has done everything to earn that pass, but it wasn't pretty. I think he allowed the most pressures across the offensive line yesterday, if I remember correctly, looking at the stats.
Yeah.
Brock, when that play progression was left, I saw Brock going right a lot, right? Like sliding right in the pocket, like whatever. I'm not gonna blow this out of proportion. I'm gonna call it as I saw it in week 1 in Seattle. Definitively not Trent Williams' best game.
Week 1 is always so weird because,
Yeah.
you know, you're going to have sweeping judgments on players on a single week, you know? And so I'm also not ready to freak out on Trent Williams. Not only did he not participate in the preseason, which he normally doesn't, but also, you know, training camp, it was, I would say, a modest ramp up for him. Like several days off. There are times where even in team periods, he's not doing a whole lot. But I was at training camp, right? And I might have mentioned this in some shows or just mentioned it to Brad, but he looked his age. Like he looks like I do, rolling out of bed after a hard day of work the previous day, you know, just a little stiff sometimes, maybe a little permanently limpy because you're just at that point, at that age. And you hope that he can maybe play it off, right? Like in this case, literally play it off. But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm not ready to make any sweeping judgments on Trent Williams and whether this is the beginning of the end for him. But I am noticing, you know, I think we all noticed. We all noticed in week 1. And so hopefully not a sign of things to come.
I think this is why everybody's been so adamant about using the higher draft picks on an offensive lineman. Obviously, left tackle, one of the most important positions on the field. And it's not an untrue statement to say Trent Williams at 37, 38 years old is not going to be Trent Williams at 31 or 30 or 29, no matter how healthy he may or may not be. To your point, right? Like I woke up on my 30th birthday and my knee hurt, right? And I was like, that didn't hurt yesterday. I woke up on my 40th birthday and I was like, why is my neck stiff and my back's like broke? Like you just feel shit a little bit more as you get older.
It'll creep up on you, right? Like
for sure.
It could even be a scenario where he feels like he could have made it the full season, and then a few weeks in, he's like, wow, this is a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be, you know, not to say that he'll retire mid-season.
No, he's not a quitter.
No,
he's not that guy.
No.
But I do firmly believe this is his final season as a San Francisco 49er and his final season in the National Football League. I do believe that. And I said that all summer, Steph. I said that this was the issue for me with the draft allocation and things that they did is that I'm not necessarily mad that they continued to neglect the offensive line. I'm of the firm belief my interior of the offensive line, like I want scrap heap guys. I want blue collar guys. I want chip on shoulder guys because it's rugged, right? Those tackles requires a lot more skill and athleticism, in my opinion. And I don't know why they've been so reluctant. They've been blessed for how many years between Joe Staley and Trent Williams. And it ain't going to look like that in 2026. So we'll see.
We'll see. If the 49ers have any magic trades for a tackle up their sleeve, you know.
Do it now. Even if it involves sending Trent Williams to that team to get the youth.
Goodness.
Do it. Do it.
Oh, my goodness. Again, after we just said we're not going to make any sweeping judgments, Wes.
No, it's not a judgment. It's just that to me, that's business. Like, if he's not going to be my best offensive lineman. Yeah, for sure.
Would have to be a sure thing. But on that note, let's get into this week 1 game a little bit deeper here. So it was a nail biter. It was a true 49ers are so back experience in which, you know, they took it down to the wire. And Weston, this felt like much of this game. It almost felt like a repeat of 2024 at some points, you know, like you got key guys on offense going out and Brock's having to buy himself time and he's doing too much at times, but he makes, you know, clutch throws as well. You know, there were glimpses of it. But there were also some good from the defensive side, which I don't remember seeing much of that last year. So we'll welcome that change.
that was the difference, right? As to the defense making stops and giving the offense opportunities. And for a couple different reasons on a couple different moments, they didn't capitalize on those opportunities. But the truth is like, yeah, last year they lose this game, period, point blank. Like that was the difference. Like if like there was, it felt like if they were losing at halftime, the game was over, right? I mean, that's literally what it felt like every single week in, week out. But I'm like, Steph, I'm going to be polarizing tonight because I'm like really pissed off on a lot of things that I've read from a lot of people like throughout today because I see this game entirely different than I think a lot of people do. I'm damn proud of this team, right? And they're minus a very single individual when all is said and done. But we just talked about they lose this game last year. They didn't lose this game. Week 1 is so unpredictable. You're on the road against your biggest rival, right? Where, hey, Brock's had a lot of success at Lumen, but the 49ers have not over the last 10 to 12 years, right? Like all those things like factor in and sloppy at times. Yes. Was it mistake-free? Absolutely not. But the most important is they walked out of there with the win. And honestly, if I'm being dead honest, what was so frustrating about yesterday in the score was I thought they dominated the game, dominated this actual game. Like, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out why it was a 3-point game all game.
Yeah, time of possession, they dominate.
They
38 minutes to 22.
In every statistical category, they dominated, and they dominated in my eyes and what I was watching. Big deal here. Not finishing, right? We'll talk about interceptions in a minute. We'll talk about missed field goals, I'm sure, in a minute. But those are 4 possessions that weren't finished. But I thought they manhandled the Seahawks. Like, I literally thought they manhandled them. And I don't know. I'm proud of the bunch. I thought it was a resilient W. And anytime you get a division win on the road when you won a single division game last year, 49er fans should be hyped up about this. Like, why are you not? You know what I mean? Like, I'm floored with all these people that just want to be right about their opinions on a player or whatever. Like, Steph, I'm sorry, but fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, watch the fucking football game and watch what your team did. And that was a dogfight that they were the dog and they came out and won. Like, how else do you phrase that? Like, I'm damn proud of this football team yesterday. Sorry. I know I threw a couple F-bombs, but I'm going to be fired up tonight.
We got Spicy Weston before we got GTA 6, folks. That's what we got right now. No, seriously, that was awesome. I totally agree with you. It's like, can we just enjoy the few good things that it feels like we have? You know, like a week 1 win is something to be happy about. I didn't quite think, Weston, that it was a dominating performance. I'm glad you felt so. It just felt like there were moments where the 49ers wanted to give it away, or they were making it more difficult on themselves than
for sure
they needed to.
I'm not going to call it a dominant performance. I think there's a clear difference between dominant performance and dominating the other team, right? And I think they bullied the other team. Like, there's nobody in the 49ers, even in the locker room, that's going to tell you that was a dominant performance. It was full of mistakes, but they physically beat up the Seattle Seahawks in my eyes, right? I thought they were very physical. And statistically speaking, they dominated in every category. So maybe no, I'll stand by it. They dominated the Seahawks. I won't call it a dominating performance.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Like, I mean, if you felt it was dominant, Weston, I'll let you have that.
Let me have it just for tonight. I don't know how many more times I'm going to be able to say it.
Right, exactly. Well, that's kind of the thing too. I'm like, I remember the 49ers winning week 1 in a similar fashion last year against the Packers, or sorry, not the Packers, the Jets. And it was an ugly win, right? Week 1, ugly win, but we felt good about the fact that they actually got it done. But something about this win, I think, is different from that one, because I think a lot is different from that one, right? And I think a lot of it comes from the defensive performance, Weston. I mean,
for sure. For sure.
Robert Saleh makes a world of a difference.
I love that man.
I can kiss that bald head right now. And
I'm right there with you.
Like that guy, he made all of the difference. And for me, like in his first game back, I knew we all knew he was going to be a big change for this team. But in his first game back, with all these new players, including a lot of rookies that, he had to figure out a way to win with these guys learning on the fly, and rotating in and out. Upton Stout getting bullied a bit in the first half of this game and responding later. You start to see the character of some of these guys. And, I think it's a reflection of who Robert Saleh is as a coach as well, right? So I think it was a hell of a performance from Saleh, world of a difference. And I'm looking forward to seeing what more this defense can do. Because again, this is week 1. This is Saleh's first game back. A lot of rookies all these rookies, it was their first game. Like they're only going to learn from, the experience and, maybe some of the mistakes that they made, some of the things they could have done better. So we're going to see it. We're going to see it this year. What did he say? He said, buckle up, right? Or sit back, enjoy the ride. We're going to do that.
For me, Steph, the big difference, week 1 in the National Football League is a liar. Let's just be very clear about that, right? Like it is a liar. It is not the ultimate indication as to who your team is or what your team's all about. But if I look at week 1 last year versus the Jets versus week 1 this year, all right, week 1 at home, Monday Night Football, right? It was Monday night. I think it was Monday night, not Sunday night.
I believe
Monday Night Football after you just played in the Super Bowl, right? And you felt really good about your team coming into. You just got Aiyuk wrapped up, like the dramas aside. You expected to win that game, and they did win that game, and they won it pretty handily. Now you have the turmoil of last year. You go on the road against a divisional opponent, and let's keep in mind that I don't care who the quarterback is for the Jets will always stink. It's just until the Johnson family.
Hey, they looked legit on Sunday, but they're still
the Jets. They're still the Jets. And I think Pittsburgh stinks too, if I'm being real honest. So it's just two bad teams going against each other, if I'm being 100% real here. But this was everything that we feared would happen to this team from our exposure to it last year happened. All of the adversity happened in week 1. And they found a way to win the game. I think that's why this week 1 is significantly more significant to me than last year's week 1. Expectations were different. Turmoil looked just like it did all last year and found a way to overcome. I think that's why 49er fans should be excited, because this is still a team that is, defensively speaking, and it was a pretty darn good product out there, that by their own coach's admission is going to be learning on the fly, right? And the Seahawks are not slouches. Like, yes, they lost this week, but they have a good football team. They are well coached. Like, there are things going, quarterback, whatever. But around him, that they have talent, right? And they're a young, good football team. I think this is it's a big win for the San Francisco 49ers, at least for that locker room. Fans might disagree, but I'm telling you, this is going to galvanize that locker room for sure.
I think it's huge. Yeah. I like the makeup of this 2025 team. You got a lot of young, feisty players that are ready to prove it out there. And it's really exciting. Weston, now's the time. Let's get into our 49K player of the week nominations without further ado. I'm going to let you go first. It's the first one of the season, but I'm going to let you cook here.
Wow.
Who you got?
How is it not?
I can't wait to hear who you have to say.
How is it not BCB? Brock Purdy. Like, how is it not? It's 26 of 35, 277 yards, average 8 yards a pop, 2 touchdowns. Yes, I know that he threw the 2 picks, had a single sack, should have been sacked significantly more, but he bought his own time, created his own pocket for a 92.2 rating and the game-winning drive. where we all criticized Brock for not getting it done. And you just paid him $255 million. And you know what he did? He went down there and got it done with his third string tight end. And I know you want to question the ball placement at times. I, too, thought he was throwing that football away and just didn't get enough on it. But you know what? You can't have both. You can't have somebody who you want to be a top quarterback in the league and is afraid to take chances to go win a football game. That person, you know who that person is? Sam Darnold, right? Like, on the other side.
Man.
You can't have both. And I will give the haters a single one of the interceptions. I will say felt very Jimmy G-esque, and that was the quadruple,
because I'm
the quadruple coverage to Pearsall.
Yes. Okay.
That one.
Yes.
I get it. But you know what? I've seen a lot of quarterbacks. All of your favorite quarterbacks in the league make that same throw. And if Pearsall, I think, does a better job of body position and somehow makes a play, or at least it's incomplete, you know what the narrative is? Do you see that dime or that dot from Brock? It's not about he threw into quadruple coverage. This game is a game of millimeters, and that's what it was. But it doesn't look good in a place where you had a ton of time and it wasn't necessary. So I will give you that. I will give you could have been a better decision. The first interception he threw, it just needs to be a better throw. It was the right read.
Yeah.
We've seen him make that throw 100 times before where he puts it right over that second layer defender, even when they're fully outstretched. And what's the narrative? What a dot by Brock. Look at that throw and the anticipation. I'm just tired. You can't have it both. And Steph, again, 3 years we've been doing this. You know it's taken me a long time to come around on number 13, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to be his biggest defender this week because there might be only 3 to 5 other quarterbacks in the National Football League that win that football game under those circumstances with all of your playmakers out. Given what this team has been through, I thought he balled. I thought he bought time. Yes, he made bad decisions. Every freaking quarterback does. You know, we want to praise Josh Allen, but his team was down 15 points with 4 minutes left in the game.
Insane.
He found a way to do it, but had he been better the entirety of the game, maybe it's a different story, right? Like Lamar Jackson couldn't find a way to do it. He couldn't find a way to seal the win when they were up 15 points in 4 minutes and get a couple first downs. I'm not trying to use this as a comparison. I'm just saying, stop with your nonsense out there about this was a game by Brock Purdy. And this might be the game that finally gets me on that side of that's the guy. That's the guy. They made the right decision. Yeah. Look, yes, he lacks certain physical traits. He could have had a touchdown to Pearsall if he had a stronger arm a little bit earlier in the game that ended up being an incomplete pass. If he could just get it with a little bit more zip, I get it. He's limited. We're all limited by physical ability. That's why we're talking here versus playing in these games. But God damn it, Brock Purdy, you cooked yesterday. You showed me your resilience, and you showed me that regardless of the size of the paycheck, you want to win football games. You are my 49K player of the week, or at least my first nomination.
Whew. Love that.
I told you, I am like sweating this evening.
He's fired up. Well, the hoodie doesn't help, Weston. I mean,
it's cold in my house. I'm cold,
okay?
actually.
I'm like, it's 80 degrees over here. I'm like, it's hot. But I think that was a great breakdown of, Brock Purdy and just the Brock Purdy experience. And Benali over here in the comments, again, cooking. She says, if you like Brock Purdy's miracle throws, you have to take him at his WTF interceptions too, because those throws are cut from the same cloth. They come from a place of pure aggression and full trust in your receiver that they're going to get the play done, like the Ricky Pearsall one where he was covered by 4 guys. I don't know why, but he was just like, my guy's going to get it. Even the game-winning touchdown was like, my guy's going to get it. I just got to put it up for him. And yes, you're right. I think the other interception was sort of miscalculated a little bit, throwing off his back foot. I think if he's able to plant his foot, he gets a little bit more on that ball, and it's the same type of throw we've seen him make so many other times where he gets it just right over the defender and into that spot for Juwan Jennings. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of the Brock Purdy experience that we've come to know, that you live by it and you die by it. And I think we just gotta accept it. The one thing that bothers me, but again, I think it's just something we're just gonna have to accept because I don't think this is gonna change about him, is the fact that he can always live to see another down. Most of his interceptions, you think to yourself, why would he do that? He didn't need to force that, you know?
But this is the difference. Playmakers, they don't think like that, Steph. They think, I see an opportunity, I go get it. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. You can't coach that mentality. You can't create that mentality. Somebody is born with that mentality. And I saw so much
I appreciate
it. Yeah, I want that guy as our quarterback. I so much crap today about we've already lived through the Jimmy G experience. Benali's right. Like, you want to praise his hero throws. Jimmy G did not make any hero throws. Let's be very clear. In all of the years, his success was yak driven, close to the line of scrimmage, the yak bros, right? Like, that ball did not go downfield, and we certainly never saw him make throws that we saw Brock Purdy, or that we've seen Brock Purdy make over the years. So we can stop with that nonsense, because that's all that is. That is absolute complete horseshit and nonsense. I know I'm fired up, but you can't look me in the eye and tell me that they didn't win. They won that game. Yes, good defense. Brock Purdy won that football game at the end of the game. And Jake Tonjes, you the man. Thank you for stepping up and making a hell of a play. But they're not even in that position without Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I mean, even with the defense getting the stop, they still needed to score in order to win the game. And, Brock Purdy, along with Jake Tonjes, made that happen. So I'm going to this nomination, maybe it's surprising because when you think of 49K player of the week, you think about, hey, a guy who performed all the way, like, throughout the game, he was just undeniable. But this one, not so much. But I have to nominate him because he had the play of the game, and that is Jake Tonjes. And in the circumstances in which he did it, Weston, I think is most impressive. Let's just go back, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of all of this about Jake Tonjes in the last 24 hours already. Los Gatos native, right? Cal alum, and spent the better half of last year on the practice squad. Went into training camp competing for that TE3 spot with Braden Willis. Won that competition, and again, he's the TE3, so he's behind Luke Farrell. And so with George Kittle going out, you see Jake Tonjes on the field. And I wanted to actually watch all of his snaps because I was like, hey, I didn't exactly notice any whiffs from him, right? So let me see how he did in the blocking department because, that's something that 49er tight ends have to do. And I wanted to see how he did as the TE3, having to go in there in a hostile environment and filling in for George Kittle, I think was big. And I thought he did an admirable job even in that department, all things considered. So I like what Jake Tonjes brought. His first NFL catch happened in that game, and he ends it with the exclamation point that, give me that catch, taking it away from Tariq Woolen. Same height. One player just wanted it a little bit more than the other. I got to give props to Jake Tonjes, and I think he deserves the nomination this week.
Do you know what, Steph? Yeah, he's on my list too. And for all of those reasons, I'll challenge every one of your viewers and listeners right now. Go to ESPN.com or Pro Football Reference or wherever you want to get your statistics from and go look at his career statistics. It shows 1 year with the Chicago Bears, right? His rookie year. I think he was an undrafted player with the Chicago Bears. 1 game, 1 target, 0 catches, right? And then nothing until 2025. So it goes from literally like 2022 to like 2025.
Yeah.
Not even the years in between because he's a practice squad guy, out of whatever it was. And here he is. And you know what, Steph? It was all one drive, right? Loved the first down catch that he made where he still got forward and got a couple extra yards. Situational awareness. Can't teach that, by the way. That's just between the ears type of thing. And then just going to make a savage play like he did on catching that touchdown. This is why I love the National Football League. It might only take one series for Jake Dodges to find his way into a starting rotation for the rest of the season. And he did it in the 4 p.m. slot, Fox game of the week, whatever you want to call it, divisional rivalry. Like, good for that man. Awesome. Like, there's no way we could go today without giving him praise and putting him up for this nomination. And you know what? You're right. I did go back and watch some of the snaps. He didn't whiff. He actually had a higher run blocking rating than the praised George Kittle, if you subscribe to PFF and those statistics. So, listen, if Kittle's out and goes on the IR, get used to 88. You're going to see a lot of them.
Yeah, and I think, you'll like what you see out of Jake Tungus. So, yeah, I think that's a deserved nomination. Now, Weston, do you have any others?
I have a lot from this game, Steph. I told you I'm like polarizing, but I'll just get
all right. Yeah,
Swaggy Ricky. Like, how is it not Swaggy Ricky Pearsall coming out? I think it's his first 100-yard career. Is it the first 100-yard game, or did he have one at the end of last year? Either way, that catch at the end on that final drive, that separation with that very not noticeable, just a little push off on Reek Woolen. That's what good. That's what he had one. I think he actually in that game last year, I think he had like 100.
He actually went off in that one against Detroit.
Which we lost. Anyway, but this game you win. We've all said it, right? We've said Kittle's going to be a factor. Pearsall has to be a factor, right? Just given the wide receiver situation and what you've invested in bringing that guy here. But like, how do you not love 4 catches, 108 yards? He had the long was 45 on the most important drive of the entire game. This is what you want to see from who's going to be your wide receiver one for the remainder of the season, if not for the remainder of his career in San Francisco. And it just continues the trajectory that we saw at the end of last year, that we didn't get to see in any of the preseason because hobbled by injuries. Another wide receiver injured, who would have thought, with the San Francisco 49ers. But I'm giving love to Swaggy Ricky here. Actually, my wife during the game turned to me and she was like, how do you not have a Ricky Pearsall jersey? And I was like, I'll take care of that. We'll get that ordered immediately.
I mean, the number 1 jersey is...
Can't have a number 14 jersey. That's not allowed in my closet. That's the ugliest number in all of football.
Not a lot of aura on number 14 jersey. Shout out Giannis for the super chat and says, sup, Steph, I think CMC 1,000 year might be coming. Whoa, that's a lofty prediction. I could see it because...
Well, we don't want it. I think
no,
you don't want... Of course you want it, right? Like, of course you want it. But I don't think that was a lot of usage. That was a lot of usage in week 1. Yeah. I mean, what? We're talking 31 touches of the football.
And Weston, that was with Brian Robinson actually getting a decent amount of...
Oh, he was on the field.
Yeah, he was getting a decent amount of carries. And I was actually like commending McCaffrey as I was watching, because I'm like, he's taking himself out. Like, no one had to force him. I think he's maturing in that sense that, I might have overdone it.
Or he's actually hurt.
Or he's actually hurt. No, we're not going to speak that one into further existence, I guess.
Who you got?
All right, I'm going to go, and this was tough, right? Like, I'm going to go with Nick Bosa, though, because if I got to nominate Jake Tungus for the game-winning touchdown, I got to nominate Nick Bosa for the game-sealing strip sack. And it wasn't just that. Like, he had other contributions in this one as well. 6 total tackles, including 3 for loss, a quarterback hit. And I believe, if I'm thinking correctly, ESPN had it as a quarterback hit. I think it's the one that forced an incompletion where he's coming around on a stunt and pressures Sam Darnold up the middle. So, yeah, I mean, he had his hands all over this one like a bear has his hands in the honey jar. You guys like that reference. And so, yeah, I thought, especially in that final drive defensively, I saw something in Bosa that it just looked like he said to himself, I'm not losing this game. This is not about to be a repeat of last year. Like, I'm going to make it happen. And he did, completely pushing Abe Lucas into the shadow realm, aka Sam Darnold, and that football to jar it loose. Huge play. And then, getting the recovery of that one. So, yeah, Nick Bosa.
Listen, I got him on my list too, Steph. I think you'd be so proud of me. Like I know I was like so critical during the offseason, like during preseason. I was like, I have nobody. I don't even know what we're supposed to talk about tonight. Look, it's funny and we'll talk about this maybe in just a second, but like when there's other players on your defensive line that command attention, you're going to get, or commanded attention for whatever reason, you're going to find your star pass rusher in favorable positions, and it's up to him to take advantage of. And I think he had obviously sealing the game, but outside of that, I think he had a clear impression on this game, and that's why they call him MB Smaller Bear. He had his hand in the honey jar. I thought he played a heck of a game. I thought he was stout in the run game. I thought he was, I don't want to say he had Darnold seeing ghosts, but I think he disrupted more than his fair share of plays. I thought Bosa played exactly how you want to see him start the season is how I would boil it down.
Indeed. We got 4 nominees right now, Weston. Do you want to add another, or do you want to go to the flowers?
I do want to add another, if that's okay.
Right. Yeah. Let's
D. Winters.
Aha.
I thought D. Winters was all over the football field.
He looked
fast, violent, 7 tackles. Most notably right before half, right? The goal line stand to force them to hold to 3 going into halftime when we get the ball back. Like that's a big deal. Those are big swings from a momentum standpoint. But you can't turn on social media without pundits talking about how noticeable he was. Again, I'll just say fast, violent, effective, looks really good next to Fred Warner out there, who gave us a scare early in this football game as well, mind you. Like there wasn't enough problems to deal with. But I don't think I can go without putting D. Winters in this. I thought for his first real game with real expectations, I thought he showed up in a big time way.
Yeah, I think D. Winters backed up all the praise that we gave him, in training camp and in the preseason. He most definitely looks the part. And I think it's great to see the growth from him. We were a little unsure, this offseason, how it was going to go. The 49ers added some competition in that mix for him. And it was like the start of training camp. He left zero doubt. Like he took a hold of that LB2 spot next to Fred and never looked back. And again, starting week 1, starting the season off strong. And I think it's going to be something that we see. There's something about his body that when I see him and he's rocking the 53, I'm like, he kind of looks like Bowman out there.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to say that because I didn't want people to get mad at me, but it's more so just like how he moves and, just he has this, I don't know, his build, I guess, from my TV vantage point looks similar to that of Bowman when he played. So that also makes me feel good. But yeah, I think that's a great one. And excited for what he has in store for us all year. All right, we have our nominees for this week's 49K Player of the Week. 5 names. Gonna put it up on the screen here. If you guys
get your vote in
for 49K Player of the Week of Week 1. We've got Brock Purdy, Jake Tungus, Ricky Pearsall, Nick Bosa, and D. Winters as our nominees. Get your votes in the live chat. And in the meantime, Weston and I are going to give some flowers. Weston, I'm going to start off giving some flowers to Marquez Siegel because similarly, somewhat like D. Winters, getting his opportunity here in week 1 to, show what he has, and not just show what he has. It's not like this opportunity came out of nowhere. Make no mistake about it. This came from really strong play in training camp, in, the preseason. So I got to give it up to him. He backed it up as well, like D Winters in this game. And I'm glad the 49ers trusted him as a rookie to be a safety, starting safety for this team. And, he looks the part as well. He looks very confident out there. Doesn't look like the moment's too big for him. That's important. That's important for a starting safety. He's very poised. So looking forward to seeing more from him as well.
Yeah, I have like, if I could show you my notebook, Steph, if everybody can see this.
He had a lot of names.
I had a lot of names, but Siegel is a Flowers guy for sure. Listen, it's not easy, but your first I would imagine, not that I've played in one, right? But your first professional football game in those environments as a rookie, heck of a game, and never a bad thing from a confidence perspective to find yourself on the positive end of a forced fumble, right? Being the man who dives on it, recovers it, gets to lead the team in celebration and directions, all good stuff for the kid's confidence. And I thought he played a heck of a game. Look, of course, I see a lot of people talking about CMC in the chat, Steph, and it's
let's give him flowers.
Well, we will, but that's not who I want to give flowers to, actually. I just want to say, we get it. Like, CMC's an all-world stud. We just have different expectations for him than everybody else, and that's why he doesn't come up.
Like, I'm sorry. Like,
that's
and this is obvious. Incredible, right? But this is an average game for Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
We can nominate.
It wasn't that great of a game it was great for us, right? His output. But I'm going to go another rookie, and another reason why I'm really upset coming into tonight. Michael Williams. I don't care what your PFF grade says. I don't care that he didn't show up in your sack. This dude is 21 years old, who you barely saw in any preseason. You saw him in camp. You didn't even see him in preseason action, and he is starting his first professional game. Anybody who doubts this, if you do not have access to all 22, you can ping me on the side on Twitter. I will give you my login to go back and watch his snaps. This man is strong. He was double teamed as a rookie in his first game more often than he wasn't, which is what frees up Nick Bosa to do the things that Nick Bosa does. And yes, I know his pass rush. This was widely advertised that he's got a ton of ability that needs to be coached up, and he's like literally learning on the fly, and he did not go backwards once and was double teamed the vast majority of why. I have no idea, right? Like, you got bigger problems with Nick Bosa on one side, figure that out. But he showed his versatility. Steph, he start outside, he go inside. I think if I'm in Michael Williams camp and I'm Chris Foster, I think that is fantastic tape that this young man put out in his first game. And I don't want to hear anything about, like, the expectations are egregious sometimes, guys. Like, you think just because this guy was a first-round pick, he should have 4 sacks in his first professional football game, like, ever. Like, get out of here. Like, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. Michael Williams, I thought, played a hell of a football game yesterday.
Yeah, you saw the respect that the Seahawks offensive line was giving him, like to have him triple teamed basically on that final play, I think tells you a heck of a lot of what they think about Michael Williams and the threat of him. So, and yeah, he just like the other rookies, especially the others on this defensive line, are going to get better as the season goes on. And yeah, the talking about the stat line for Michael Williams is very silly, especially when you're focusing on pass rushing stats, which are most of the stats that, are flashy and jump out for defensive linemen, right? But we knew when he was drafted, that was not the strong part of his game. We knew that he could grow into that, but it's not something he was going to have right away. He was going to be big on base downs. He was going to be big on run D. And, I think we saw that in his first game action, which
I saw it, for
goes
sure.
pretty well for how he could perform the rest of this season. That's exactly what you want to see. You don't want him getting blown off the ball. You don't want him, getting pushed back several yards on some blocks, so he held his own. He'll only get better. So I feel good about him. I'll give, you guys in the comments, you guys are giving CMC flowers. We'll throw some flowers out to him. Who else here? Ronaldo Green. Yeah, Ronaldo Green, I thought also, a couple times where they try to pick on him a couple times in this game, just like Upton Stout. I liked how both of those guys responded later in this game. And Ronaldo Green had a very important tackle in this one where Sam Darnold threw the ball to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Ronaldo Green hustles over to get this tackle, open field tackle, 1 yard short of the sticks. And you know what they did afterwards? It was when they punted, right? That was they punted right after that. They decided not to go for it. That's their decision. But you know who helped make that decision for them? It was Ronaldo Green, because he forced the 4th down there. So that was huge. I like how he responded in this one. Again, getting tested. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba, very respectable receiver, big test in week 1. I like how he went out in this one.
Isn't it funny the difference in a win versus a loss? We have so many players to talk about.
So many. We had to cap it. We had to cap ourselves. We're we're in 6 here.
I know, but that's my point, Steph, right? I feel like everybody's so down after a loss. And I know there's injuries and I know there's concerns, but this is the National Football League. A lot of teams walked out with injuries in week 1, right? None of them are season ending. As far as we know, we never know with the San Francisco 49ers, but this was a good football team win yesterday, pioneered by, yes, welcome back, Robert Saleh. He deserves his flowers in this piece as well. But this is how you know my wife knows ball, dude. She's had to listen to me so much, Steph.
I'll know her.
But the truth is and pioneered by your nearly $300 million a year quarterback. This is what it's supposed to look like.
Yep. Indeed. And I see a couple of you guys mentioning other guys on this defensive line as well. Sam O, absolutely. And Khalil Davis. Yes. Love it all.
That's what a win looks like.
Exactly.
Contribution from everybody. So they're making our point for us, which also tells me they watch this game, right? Because those contributions matter. That's the difference between winning and losing a football game. That's why it's the best sport in the entire world, because it requires all 11 on both sides of the football doing their job.
All right, let's tally up these votes. But before we do that, Weston, who are you giving your vote to?
Brock Purdy.
All right. Week 1, 49K player of the week for the 2025 season. Starting this off here is Jake Tungus. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Go!
Who would have thought, right? In week 1, 23, getting the nod for 49K player of the week. And again, this is what's really cool about 49K player of the week, because yes, we have all these great stat lines that we can look at for a number of different players. We nominate all these guys, but you guys vote and you guys agree. Jake Tungus made the biggest contribution of all to this game, getting the game-winning touchdown. So that's big. It's not just about the stats. It's about certain plays that hold weight more than others. And I think, Jake Tungus definitely deserved this week 1 49K PO dub.
Who had on their bingo card that Jake
Exactly. Who could have predicted this?
Love it. This is why, Steph, I love you. I love your audience. I love doing this show with you. So grateful that we get to do this together on Monday. But this is what it was about. This was incredibly fun this evening.
Yeah, this show was actually a blast. And the live chat, you guys kept it popping the whole way through. Appreciate all of you. Make sure you guys like this video. Before we head on out of here, just one quick update. Kyle Shanahan was asked about Jake Moody today. Remember Weston yesterday? I know. We got to go out on this low note. Kyle Shanahan was asked about Jake Moody yesterday in the post-game presser, to which he said there's no question that Jake Moody is going to remain the kicker. Today, slightly different tone here. He says, quote, "We're looking into all that stuff right now. There's options. I know the personnel department is going to look into all that stuff and give us those options." I don't know about you, Weston, but the fact that he's mentioning the personnel department is getting involved tells me that there was a request made by Kyle Shanahan to the personnel department to, hey, give me a list of all the kickers that we can bring in that are options for us to sign right now or this week. I think that's a positive sign in the right direction.
And it has to happen. Like, I'm sorry. I get it. I get all the optics to it, whatever it is. But the reality is when you got a guy over his last 10 games who's basically making 50% of his field goals, like any field goal kicker can do that. No, I can't. But any field goal kicker right now in the national
you
field.
Could do that?
Yeah, but listen, kicking's a lot harder than we all want to make this out to be. Like, it is a very unique skill set. It is a very public skill set required when you are just on stage. Like, they don't call timeouts to ice quarterbacks, right? Like, they call timeouts specifically to ice the kicking game.
That's because they're flappable.
Yeah, they are. Oh, that is tremendous vocabulary there, Steph. But it's true. They are flappable. I think at the end of the day, like, you just need to do it. You just need to, you just have to do this. You have to pull this cord, because I don't even think it's coming from Kyle. I think you finally got people in the locker room that are like, dude, this is it, man. This is it.
He's been hearing it from me for God knows how long.
I mean, we know he tunes in secretly to the show, Steph. We get it.
Absolutely. Well, Kyle, if you're out there, I hope you enjoyed today's show. And for all of you that tuned in as well, really appreciate all of you. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Hit that notification bell so you know when I go live. Tomorrow, going to be back with Bully Ball and Gold Standard Network and on this YouTube channel if you're subscribed. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. For now, folks, enjoy the rest of your Monday Night Football. Peace.